everybody. Welcome to Galleria 7. We are here for, just in case, it doesn't have to be perfect. When is good enough, good enough? I'm a Virgo, and it hurts me to say that, just so you know. So I have to do our room work first, and that's to tell you, if you haven't already, who's Dragoncon's charity?
Cure.
Okay, good, you can stay. Okay, so why do we care about Cure? What do they do? Childhood cancer. They're doing research and supporting families that are dealing with childhood cancer. They've been around since 1975, I think. That's not on my list. But Dragoncon is matching dollars up to $125,000. So last year we made the goal. We hit $100,000 of matching funds for everybody. So they raised the bar for us, and we can't leave $25,000 on the table, people. So please donate. We've got a tip thing jar up here. You can put your money in, which is hysterical because in the writer's track, it's filled with bills. Here, we got nothing. So use the QR code because we're
right now.
We're digital and we know how to use a QR code.
Right.
We're the only track so far I've seen that actually has our QR codes out. But besides that, I want to send a special thank you out to Zakat. They're our sponsor for the track. They're the reason we have these wonderful cameras and are able to stream on 2 Twitch channels. They've been around for 22 years. They're empowering lives through disaster relief, food distribution, orphan care, and more. They have like the best ratings you can get on Charity Navigator and BBB Wise Giving Alliance. Please check them out at zakat.org.
Is there like a link we can share with that? Because I didn't know it was gonna be Twitch. I would have shared it with my fans. Is there any short link, anything like that?
For what, Zakat?
For just this being Twitch right now?
Yeah, well, see that middle code? That's us. We have a link tree. You can go follow us. Go get on Discord. I know, and it'll pop up here too, by the way, because somebody's made these too. So
Middle one.
the middle one, and then you can be on our Discord, which is where our conversations continue after the con and throughout the year. We also have a couple of things I'll tell you guys about at the end. But for now, we're going to talk about, does it have to be perfect? So who's perfect? I like you. She's perfect. We're going to get her to do all our shows.
Right.
So my biggest problem when I go to do a podcast is I want it to be perfect. And it's the reason why I haven't. I know. Who is over there?
It's loud. It's a Star Trek.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the brand is right.
Well, we need to have a talk with them about their loudness. I mean, we'll stick Charles on that. So that's why I'm here, is because I need to talk about perfection. My name is Tyra Burton. I'm a professor of marketing at Kennesaw State. And now Rob, who's sitting next to me, is going to tell you who he is.
Hi, I am Rob Roberts, and I help to run a network called the Voice Geeks Network, available at vognetwork.com, also on YouTube and Twitch at Vog Network. And as part of that network, I've been hosting a show called Orange Lounge Radio live for what we just celebrated our 21st year online this last June. So my friends and I met playing Dance Dance Revolution at a local arcade. True, never skinnier in my life. And we took that and made that into a show about video games, community coming together. And it's always been a live internet radio program. So we actually predate podcasting a little bit, but we were fortunate enough to, we kind of investigated podcasting through Lemon Pod and all the stuff that predated iTunes. And we were on iTunes day one, which was huge for us.
So on a scale to 1 to 10, how perfectionist are you?
0. So I'm the opposite. I think I'm here to tell you it's okay to mess up, because sometimes that's what they're listening for. But we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. But first, we must meet Channing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Channing Sherman. I'm one of the founders of the Black Geeks of DragonCon. It's not a protest, it's a party. I always say, showing off diversity here at DragonCon. But for the purposes of this panel, I've worked in digital media for roughly 20 years, everything from web design and development to social media to podcasting. And earlier this year, I finally, after years, and I do mean years of planning, launched my own podcast. So part of the reason I'm up here is to help you all avoid my mistakes. And trust me, there were many.
Scale of 1 to 10, where are you?
I'm a reformed perfectionist, so I would say I'm probably at like a 3.
We'll talk. Scott, want to bring it in?
Yeah, I'm Scott Sigler. I am an author, sci-fi and horror. I started my career podcasting, giving away all my stuff for free because I couldn't get published, built up a big following, put out an indie book, and it hit #1 on Amazon. And horror and sci-fi was #2 only to a Harry Potter novel. So I mean, it was a big deal. That got attention in New York. I wound up getting a book deal and been doing that ever since. So you can hear most of my books for free on Unabridged. If you just search your favorite podcast app for my name, Scott Sigler, you can listen to my stories. Don't even cost you nothing.
1 to 10.
I'm on the perfection scale.
Yes.
Depends on the day. Today, I'm gonna give it about a 4.
On
I'd say
another day.
yesterday is about an 11. That's a good day.
Okay.
Strong.
I understand. Feel you. I think it's He Who Is Steve.
You got me.
All right.
Hey, everybody. I'm He Who Is Steve. I'm a YouTuber, TikToker, and podcaster. I'm a member of Botched Podcast and the newly formed Dragon Knight Adventure Friends, which are both improv, comedy, live play D&D podcasts. I've been writing fiction and comedy basically my entire life, but I recently got into digital content production about 4 years ago. I've been learning as I go and struggling with my roughly 7 perfectionism the whole time.
I love you because I didn't even have to ask. So I have a
I learned
feeling
quick.
you're higher on the scale than a 7. You're
Suppose
playing
my 11 is a
ahead.
lie. It's a lie.
So what I want to start with, we're going to spend a lot of time doing Q&A, so start getting your questions ready. But what I want to know is, how do you decide when is good enough to post your stuff? Hi, you're sitting next to me. You
Well,
get to start.
So, I mean, for me, we're doing it live. It's always been live by design. We're so old that we were influenced by like Sirius XM satellite traditional radio type of shows that run 3 hours in length. And that's another thing to know about OLR is that it typically runs about 2.5 hours to 3 hours because we're
Still.
a little more model. Yeah, I mean, it's a week's worth of news. It's a lot. So we're modeled a little more off of that. So I think for us, our perspective has always been that live world, which is interesting to me because, having come to Dragoncon for as long as I have, I think there was a time where I don't want to say we were mocked. Nobody ever mocked, but I definitely got the reactions, wow, you really do that in this day and age? Really? That type of thing. But now the live things kind of come back again as Twitch has really, bubbled up again, and similar live services, but I'm just going to talk about Twitch because that's where I happen to broadcast, have come up, is that somebody going for 7-8 hours on Twitch, that's not unheard of, doing their thing. So
True.
I think although we outline what we're going to do and we have a general idea how our show is going to run for the night, we realize it's live. And unless something particularly gross happens, because we do subject ourselves to live callers, so it doesn't happen a lot, but once in a while you get the caller who says something where it's like, nope, that I will edit out. I have no tolerance for that type of stuff. But otherwise we print as it is.
So where does it end up after Twitch?
So after Twitch, we record it while it's broadcasting Twitch. So we're doing what we call a live recording of a podcast that you can participate with. We like to use the word participation a lot with what we do. So come participate with our show by being live with us on Sunday nights. And so we use that word participate a lot. And we will record that on Twitch, and then we take the recording and we kind of strip the audio of it. And then I do what's called cropping it, right? You crop the beginning little mess when you first hit record up to where the intro drops, and you crop it right at the end when it fades at the credits. That's it, print. And unless there's something, again, really gross in there or a really bad audio fail that, there are things. So I guess I shouldn't say I'm a 0. I'm maybe a 1.5. But if there's really, really bad things, then yeah, we'll take that out. But otherwise, I usually so we'll end OLR by 8:30, 9 o'clock Pacific time, my time, because I'm from California. I usually will have the show up on the feed by 10:30.
Okay, so he's definitely rated himself appropriately.
Yes.
Channing, tell us about your story.
So
How do you know when good enough is good enough?
Oh boy, I ask myself that one just about every other day. I guess when I know I don't know if this is a word, but I'm about to make it a word. When it's listenable. I do look at the audio. I mean, podcast, obviously audio medium. You want to make sure that it's very least decent audio. You don't need to go out and buy the most expensive mics to start. You don't need to rent a professional studio to start. You just want something clear enough where people can hear and understand you. And as long as I've gotten to the point, as long as I know I've got that, I'm ready. On my podcast, most of the people that I was interviewing are my friends. So a lot of times there was some side talk that I had to go in and cut out because, I get with some friends from college. We start reminiscing about things that may or may not have been felonies at the time we did them. And, you want to cut that out of the reel. So yeah, that any kind of editing, that's normally what I'm cutting out. And then I found a good editor on Fiverr because I'm still learning the editing process. It's a woman of color, so that makes it even better. And she goes in and does some of the basic cleanup, gets out the ums and ahs and any hisses.
So you outsourced.
Yes, I have outsourced them.
I like that.
I
Scott,
outsource as well. Steve, are you in the house? Steve Riggenberg, stand up. He's so tall he doesn't even have to stand up. This is the person I outsource to. So I am an author by trade. So I write books, sell the books. We get the books in print, ebook, audiobook, all the standard big publishing crap. But then I've been podcasting my stuff from square one. So when I couldn't get published and I was going to cons trying to meet agents and editors, I started to give away my stuff as free podcasts, read by me, very tightly edited, try and make it as pro audiobook as possible. And we would serialize that in an RSS feed. And then eventually we were doing this before Apple even had podcasts. So anybody here 18 or younger, raise your hand. Anyone? Just one? I've been podcasting longer. You've been alive, son. Burn! So now I started by giving away all my books unabridged. And then I got signed, went with Random House, and that was 15 years ago. So I run out of stuff to podcast. So I eventually had to start doing reruns to keep my weekly podcast feed going. That got a little annoying to the audience. So we started doing something that's very unperfect.
Yes.
I just finished a podcast called Slay. It is an urban fantasy, very violent, very funny. Last episode dropped today, 35 episodes. But the way we do that is I write it on Friday. And on Wednesday, we live stream it. So if you ever want to watch my live streams, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then Steve takes that video. Do you use Descript, Steve? Is that what it's called? There's a program called Descript, which what would you say? It rules. It rules.
Yeah.
It lists everything I'm saying, and then he can go through and edit it based on what he's seeing in the text, and it's very efficient. It's very sharp. Transcript. Thank you very much.
Oh.
And then he exports the audio, and we upload that audio into the Sunday feed. So it's very imperfect. It's kind of a polished first draft, if you will. And then right now that's done, we're going to go through and I'm going to edit the print manuscript. He'll go through the audio and see where I need to punch things in that I've corrected. And then we'll put that up on Amazon, print, ebook, and audiobook. So that part that's probably like a 6, I guess, on the perfect scale. With the stuff I put out for a publisher where I start from print and go through the editing process is more like an 8 or a 9.
That's more. That's definitely more flying by your pants than you used to do.
Sometimes pantsless. So just flying.
As long as you got it from here,
Nice
it's fine
breeze,
on video.
Who needs air conditioning is what I'm saying.
We do. I
Raise
live
your
in
hands
Georgia.
if you're pantsless. Not. Oh.
Sure, man. Canning.
Oh, sorry.
So the
Fluffy
tablecloth's
bottoms?
for it's
Yes,
fine.
yes.
I'm on two different sides of the spectrum as far as what I put into my content. As far as my podcasts, they're both comedy improv podcasts. I don't touch the editing of them at all. I am just input, and what comes out of the other end is based on other members of my team, other members of the podcast who handle all the editing stuff. As far as my video production, especially on my YouTube channel, I am a complete one-man operation. So I do all my research, and I do pretty thoroughly research videos on history, mythology, stuff like that. I do all my own research, which I usually give myself a week for. I do all my own outlining and scripting, which I give myself another week for. Then I do all my own filming. All my setup is everything is me, and then another week for editing. So I try to push out one video a month. And they're usually about 7 to 10 minutes. So I guess here's where that 7 kind of starts to look like a lie. But the downside of that is I have to learn how to do all those things. I have to do research to learn how to do the things, to do the research, to do the things I want to do. The upside is it is completely my vision. Everything that I put out is 100% under my control. I don't have to argue with anybody. I don't have to tell anybody how to do anything to make sure it looks right. And the way that I tell myself, okay, this is fine, I can put it out. Maybe I didn't learn all the things I wanted to this month. Maybe it didn't come out at the end exactly the way it started in my head. But the simple criteria I use is, does anything in this video look like a mistake? Does it look like I messed up? And if it doesn't, then it's good enough. That's fine.
I like that kind of version of it. So I tend to do all my podcasts, the last few, by myself or with a guest. So I've been having to drive the ship. And that causes a perfectionism problem for me because then I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's not good enough. But when I work with somebody else, I tend to let it go a little better. So I'm wondering, those of us who have worked with other people, and Steve, you've worked with Botch, so we'll start down with you.
If you can call it work, sure.
Well, that's up to you, my friend. But
We're allowed to drink at work at Botched. So.
Botched is awesome. Go listen to them. But does it change when you work with them, how you approach things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 100% more collaborative. We bounce ideas off each other. We seek feedback from each other because it's not just about, oh, am I going to be able to put out what I want to put out? Is what I'm going to put out going to step on the feet of the other people I'm working with? Am I going to make them look better, or am I going to get in their way? And we never want to get in their way when we're all trying to put out a good product together. So communication with those collaborators, listening to feedback, and also being able to honestly give it, not sugarcoating it, not saying, oh, this is great when you don't really think it is. Being able to, politely and nicely, but honestly give feedback. Hey, this needs to be fixed. This needs to be changed. Can you try this instead? Is super helpful to your collaborators.
Give me that question again.
So for me, when I work with somebody else, it's easier for me to let it go because I can have somebody else tell me, hey, that's good enough. We're good. We're ready to go. But I was wondering how collaboration impacts that perfectionism and getting to that point where you release your product.
Well, I'll defer to Steve again in the back corner there.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
I got a chair.
It's been a business relationship, building it through time, to get to the point where I here's this content, Steve, can you edit this? And then we review it and like, that was good, but these things are slightly off. Can you bring it? This is the style we're looking for. And now it's really a fire and forget for us. I finished recording. Very rarely Steve will be like, can I have the print version of that? Because now he knows my style and my voice so well that he can just trim out all of that stuff. He knows what I'm trying to do. So when I'm reading live, if I blow it on the live stream, I'll just snap my fingers twice. And that's a cue for him to pay very close attention and find out which retake to put in. So now it's a very collaborative process, but I'm not collaborating at all. I'm just like, there you go, bro. There you go. Have fun.
You got this. Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. Well, Channing, I know you work in a collaborative space now.
Yes. Part of the reason I like working in a collaborative space is because I have a lot going on in my life. Last year, in the span of 6 months, I moved about halfway across the country. I purchased a house and immediately ruined my credit. And I got married. So I've had a lot of things. And since I want to stay married for a while, I kind of realized I didn't want to be locked up editing a podcast for days on end. So the outsourcing for me works, but also I'm not afraid to admit what I don't know. And again, going back to the editing, I can go in and I can cut out different sections, but when it comes down to cleaning up that audio, removing hisses, getting the ums and out, I'm not there yet. And I'm willing to admit that to myself. So yeah, why not outsource it? And again, it's like I said before, I work with a woman of color, so I'm helping somebody out. That's kind of how I justify it. I'm a job creator. I'm basically a young Barack Obama. That's what I'm going with. So yeah, if you want to break it down and talk about you're maintaining your mental health, there's a good reason to collaborate.
Well, and you may not know, and I don't know if you mentioned, he does the Dragoncon report.
That is true, yes.
And so he works with a team of people on that podcast as well, which also live streams.
Yes, I did forget about that. Yeah, that one is great because all I have to do is look pretty. But no, we do a video where we stream, and then obviously they record it. I send notes to them every now and then, but they've got an editor there who handles it. But again, it's great because then all I have to do is research whatever topic or whatever person we're going to be interviewing that day and try not to sound like a fool.
I'm always trying to do that.
Yeah.
So do you do some collaborative work?
Well, yeah, I mean, just, there's no editing collaboration per se, but I still look at every episode of OLR that we do and the products that I personally have been involved with over the years as very, assembly line type of things. Like there's definitely a flow to every episode that maybe I play a part in that. There could be other collaborators that do play a part in that. So for example, we have a voiceover guy for our network that we use. His name's Jason. Shout out if you're out there. and that will every week he knows, okay, in the Dropbox, I'm going to, or he's going to check our show roll thread to see what the topics are so he can create an intro, and he's going to create the intro video out of that. And then I'm going to create so we actually did, ever since we pivoted to Twitch, we started doing something we actually kind of borrowed from Dragoncon TV, but it was originally borrowed from You Can't Do That on Television. The whole such and such will not be seen tonight, right?
Yes.
So I might put a little, like a PNG graphic in the folder that's something like, Mavis Beacon teaches murder, will not be seen tonight. So, and then he'll do the voiceover for that. And then that's what leads into our show. But it's all part of this assembly line, right? So that when it's go live, but he's been fantastic over the years, is that Sunday nights, or Sunday during the day, he checks the Dropbox, has it all done. It's in there by 5 o'clock when we're live at 6, and it's ready to go. So I can push the button. So it's like, yes, it's still a little more impromptu and live, but everybody still plays a part. And of course, I'm not doing OLR by myself. I have 2 co-hosts, and just the chemistry between us allows us to eliminate a lot of the awkward pauses, the ums and ahs. We know if somebody has to get up to go to the bathroom, that, or whatever, that the others carry the show and so forth. There's that chemistry between us that's built up over 21 years, right? So we kind of know how to feed off each other that way.
That's
But
amazing.
there's very much an assembly line to it. It's just, it's kind of everybody plays their part of that puzzle.
Yeah, I do a podcast called Building Bold Connections with my college, and it's very different. What I do is and it's an assembly line. Like they come with me with a guest, we research them, I develop questions, and then all I do is show up pretty. It's awesome, isn't it, Channing?
Yes, it is.
I sit behind a mic, I interview somebody, hug them when they leave, take a photo for Instagram, and that's it. I walk out, somebody else edits it, somebody does the video, and it's beautiful. They call me and say, hey, don't forget to repost. Got it. And for me, it's so much easier when I can do my part to the perfection level that I like to do it, but I know that I can let it go after that. So first off, does anybody have questions yet? Awesome. I'm going to let somebody besides me throw
I'm
it.
to throw this thing all damn week.
You're on it, Scott.
Ready?
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Testing. Okay.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
team.
you.
So I just want to do kind of an inverse of the very first question, which was when do you know it's good enough? Kind of at what point have you guys felt like, how do you know when you've crossed the line of I'm definitely spending too much time worrying about this? I've definitely gone too far and I need to let this go.
Did I mention that I got married a few months ago? That's usually how I know. No, I when I'm in bed at night and I'm thinking about it, and it's like, okay, maybe I've gone a little bit too far with trying to make this what I want it to be instead of what it needs to be. So yeah, I think that's one. When you get borderline obsessed with it, that's just me personally.
I like that answer. I also want to know why you're thinking of something else other than your new wife. I'm just saying it's not after 10. I can't go further than that. But anybody else?
Repeat that question for me.
Just is there kind of like there's a line? The first question was about like, okay, it's as perfect as it's gonna get. I'm good. Is there a point where you're like, okay, I've gone too far. It's not getting any better. I've crossed the line. I'm spending too much time working on this.
Well,
now.
as a fiction author, it always can get better, and a huge part of knowing when it's finished or when good enough is good enough is to be like, I'm in the ballpark, because if you don't put stuff out, you don't make any money. So that's a big part of it is bringing in revenue, and with people who are digitally creating, it's like you got to have that stuff out on that regular schedule to get to people. So it's just kind of a taste thing. You only have so much time to get the product done and get it out to be on schedule. So you have to kind of go take the best you can, I suppose is the way to say it. You can't spend that's the whole point of this panel, is you can't spend all day making it perfect, because it will never, ever be perfect. It can always be better. Once you understand it can always be better, that helps you relax a little bit. Like, hey man, this is pretty good. And you put that out.
There's a band I used to do work for, and they would spend so much time messing with their music that they lost what made them magical. And so I looked at them one day and I said, put out a live album. Let's do that. Let's put out a live album. And it was awesome because they couldn't tinker with it. So it's kind of when it starts losing its real voice, its authenticity, is to me when you have to stop.
So, well, I was going to say, so since I come from that live album world where every week we're doing a live
That's
album,
true.
right?
For 21
So
years.
I have to kind of tinker your question a little bit, but I still think there's room to, not every episode is going to be great. And I recognize that. We've been doing this for 21 years and we've put out some stinker episodes, and it happens. Have we lost our fans completely over it? No, because sometimes, honestly, it ends up being a meme of sorts, right? Like, look at what happens on the nightly news or on Saturday Night Live when things go wrong in that. Like the weatherman wears a green tie or something, or the wrong graphic comes up. Like, yeah, they probably meet after that and go, maybe we shouldn't do that again. And those conversations have absolutely happened after OLR. But at the same time, those are the clips that end up on YouTube that get watched over and over. Who doesn't love it when a news anchor accidentally swears on air? It's funny. So, you have to kind of learn to embrace that mistakes are going to happen, and that's okay. So but it's still okay, to talk about what can we do better, what can we improve. Just because we're doing it live doesn't mean it's perfect every week. Far from it. There's some episodes that are better than others, and sometimes that's honestly just dictated by the news cycle. Like some, especially doing, if you're doing a video game news podcast, your shows that are around the summer, I was going to say E3 week, but she died. Well, she did. If you Summer Games Fest, excuse me, but you're going to have a lot of news around that time. But then when it comes to like the holidays, all the games now for the year have come out. Those shows get a little light. So you try to think of other ways to kind of fill the time and so forth. So just by nature, sometimes the cycle is going to make some things stronger than others, but you have to be willing to recognize what's working and what's not working and evolve. Our show has evolved a ton from the beginning, a ton. We're on Twitch now. I never thought we would be a video-based show, but we had to go where the discoverability was, which if you're a gaming type person,
yeah,
Twitch, YouTube, maybe one of these up and comers, but you're pretty limited. You got to be in that space. Being on a shoutcast server and trying to explain to younger gamers what that is doesn't work anymore.
I haven't heard that term in forever. We'll just leave that there.
When
Anybody
I was
else?
your age?
Yeah, I do have a problem sometimes saying I'm spending too much time on this, because my time is my own. And if I'm using it to do something I love and create something I'm passionate about, I'm okay with it. But I do have a pragmatic line that I think is useful for a lot of newer creators, which is if I'm about to spend money that I hadn't planned in order to do something that I think I can't do with what I have, I'm going to cut it loose and maybe plan on making that purchase to make something better down the line. But if this wasn't originally in my production plan for what I'm making right now, I'm going to say, oh, I have to buy this. I'm not going to do it right now. I'll do it later. And I think that's a pretty pragmatic line to have for a lot of people.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Next question. Wow. Okay. So,
We had it right.
we got,
Give it
yes.
all back
Thank
to the
you.
back.
Hello.
I was about ready to lecture you all about coming up with questions.
So earlier you were saying, it's always you're gonna always want to do better. I'm a new content creator. I forced myself to put out my first YouTube video in January, and I was very proud of that because weirdly it went semi-viral, and I got over 24,000 views, which I was like, what the hell? Like,
That's on your first video?
right?
That's awesome.
I was
Yeah.
like, what?
would've been
But it
under
was
the
because I posted a video about being laid off, and with everything going on,
Mhm.
like it just kind of
Yeah.
like took off. My question is, I posted a couple since, like, I went from January, February, March. I got all the way to May, and I was trying to do like be consistent, right? And then I hit a brick where I ran into imposter syndrome, and I just started feeling like I don't know how to like move past this, I guess, kind of. And I don't know, I've been struggling with, and now it's been 3 months, and now I'm feeling like shame because like I haven't posted. I'm trying to do the YouTube shorts. I'm trying, but I just can't bring myself to like start it
I
up
think
again.
I can help with this a little bit.
yeah.
When I started recording my own audiobooks, and you hear your own voice for the first time recorded, and you're like, I sound like a tool, man. Everything I say sounds just terrible. And then you get on camera, you're like, this looks terrible. So what I did is I sort of amplified my personality to a certain extent, and it sort of became a character. Like I was a late night talk show host, kind of getting my brain into the point where like I am an entertainer. I am creating an entertainment product. I'm going to put that out. So that I think it can help with imposter syndrome a little bit as a stopgap. it's a character you're playing. It's not you. So that if you get into that mindset, that might help you get over the hump. And what do you put out? You said you've been doing this for 4 months, beginning to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just fake it. This fake it till you make it. Come up with a character, get out of your own head, and 4 months from now, you won't even give a second thought to it. It'll be more second nature to you.
Thank you.
And I can tell you, my middle name is pretty much imposter syndrome. In my personal and my professional life, I've actually left a job because of imposter syndrome. Not the smartest thing I've ever done in my life, but we'll talk about that one over drinks because alcohol is required. One thing that helped me, and I'm going to gush a little bit about some people in this room. When I started, I've been coming to this digital media track back when it was called the podcasting track. It was only 2 years ago I started getting on panels with them. But there are people in this group who, when they heard I'd been planning this podcast, they would like every now and then just kind of pop in and be like, hey, you hit record yet? Hey, it just to kind of give you that reminder and it was good because they were professionals in the industry. So I felt like I could trust them a little bit more than if it's like my mom saying, oh yeah, you should do that podcast. It'll be great. I'll listen. Because my mom lies. She once told me that I was a good dancer, and that's not true. Yeah, but I do think having this kind of unobjective third party to kind of boost me along really helped. And the other one is, and it just seems weird, mental health matters.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome is legit. There's people you can talk to. Even if you're not ready to go to full-on therapy, there's things online. Don't let it get you, because imposter syndrome. I started planning my podcast. I went back in Google Docs and looked at the date. I think it was 2008 was when I said, oh, here's a podcast. Here's what I want to do. I hit record last year. Again, because of imposter syndrome. So don't let it get you. Do whatever you have to do to fight through it.
Real quick, 4 more words for you. It's okay to suck. It's okay to suck.
Yeah.
You can put stuff out that sucks. My first podcast was straight garbage, man. They're terrible. It's okay to suck and learn as you go, because you think you're immersing, you're in a learning process.
Mm-hmm.
And for your learning process, the imposter syndrome gets away with that, but don't worry about it. If you make trash, it means you're going to make art later.
Yeah, I hope you can recognize and hear that imposter syndrome is something many of us deal with too. It's something that, I deal with it here at Dragoncon and other panels that I've been at. When I'm moderating a panel with a celebrity on it in a room full of people, I'm kind of like, how the heck did I end up here? Someday they're going to figure out I'm nobody important, I'm nobody, special, and here I am getting to do this very special thing. So what you're going through, it's no different than what a lot of us honestly continue to go through sometimes. It's a battle I still fight sometimes. But I really like the concept of having an accountability buddy. I think that's great, because that's a lot of what people do when they want to, work out or go on a diet. It's something to kind of go on an adventure together. But my advice to you, I really want you to think about setting the day, set aside the time, put that gold star on your calendar that says on, what is today? September, like this. So on September 10th, I'm going to do a video about Dragoncon, and I'm going to do it from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, whatever time works for you. I'm going to work on this video. September 8th, I'm going to plan the outline for my video, or whatever steps you need to take to get there. If you just want to hit record and go, you only need the one, you got it. But then that way, by carving out that time and saying, I'm going to do it then you're going to have to say, this was more important than that, to move that and rearrange that around. You're going to have to say, you know what, going out to Chili's with friends, whatever it is you do for fun, that was more important than doing this particular video.
Those Southwestern egg rolls are good.
No.
It's that bottomless chips and salsa for me. I don't know why the hell Chili's popped into my mind of all things.
It's okay.
I'm
It
trying to
says
think, like, what do
something
I like
about
to do
you.
on Friday night? So
We need to talk.
but whatever it is, you
Set aside the time.
will have to make a conscious choice to say, this is more important than my content creation to do that. So
Thank
think
you.
about carving out the time.
Thank you.
Fabulous advice.
That is. Yes.
So there was an
Thank you.
imposter panel here, and one thing that we came up with was that you need to write down your wins, and you need to write down when somebody says something, you need to write it down and put it in that box, or take the camera and have it in a digital file and bring it up and look at it, because that's that reassurance that you're okay.
Yeah.
And it's from somebody else's point of view instead of Channing's mom.
Yes.
It's somebody else's point of view. And that reassures us.
Can I get Channing's mom to lie to me about my work? That'd be
I-
awesome.
Hey, she'll do it. She'll do it.
I have a feeling that Fluffy Bottom's mom will help us. So did you
Hashtag
pass the
Fluffy Bottom.
Yes, that's right.
Hello.
And please come talk to me after the panel if you don't mind.
As creators, we tend to have a lot of hobbies that we might want to turn into some form of revenue. How do you keep yourself from sticking your finger into too many pies?
I'm
Somebody talk.
I'm tapping out because I can't
I'm
answer
the
that
wrong one
question.
to ask.
Yeah. Anybody here not an overdoer?
I'm not one for
That's
the.
what I said. You're lying.
Yeah. I'm not one for the wrong reasons. I'll just say, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about imposter syndrome. Mental health is important, and you don't want to get burned out. And just like we're saying that it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good. There's something to be said for you don't need to try to be an expert at everything. If you just have if you have 5 hobbies, pick the 1 or 2 that you like the best. There's your topic for your podcast. And then if you want to do every now and then some very special episodes about the other ones, that's fine. But you don't want to get to a point where you're trying to juggle 5 or 6 podcasts about these very specific individual things by yourself. Don't take this the wrong way, but you have a lovely head of hair. I would hate for it to fall out from stress. Yes, I had hair when I started. I had a full afro.
My hair was so
Same.
pretty when I started out.
Yeah.
It's waves and shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bobby,
no.
no, all gone. All
Jesus help me.
gone. Oops, all bald.
Leanne Lord, who's a comedian, said something to me. She said, "No is a complete sentence." I suck at it, but please do it.
Yeah.
This is a lesson I'm very much still learning myself. However, the very simple answer that you probably don't want to hear is you just have to learn how to say no. But one way that I framed it that has helped me say no more often, because I have been pitched projects from friends who I've even done other podcasts with, where it's like, oh, we should do this spin-off podcast about such and such game. And I have to recognize and say, you know what? No, I just don't have the time, because if I do that, it's going to take away from other things. And what helps me get there is recognizing no is not a negative. No is not necessarily a negative. No can very much be a positive, because no can be the way that you're committing yourself to those other projects that you have. And that's how I framed it for these individuals that, maybe I've been asked. It's like, no, if I say yes to this, it's going to affect this other project that maybe we work on or that we do. So I can't do that. And that ends up being a positive thing, because I'm recommitting myself to this other project. So again, I'm learning from this. I'm not perfect, so I have to listen to myself sometimes, but I think that's a way to frame it that's really helped me.
Yeah. Set yourself a schedule. That is what I've had to do, because I've overextended myself a couple of times in my journey making stuff. Got burned out, left, come back. It's okay. It happens. But you set yourself a schedule of what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. Like I've done for me personally, I spend 1 week every month doing a particular thing, and then I have a finished product. And the way I organize that is one of the best purchases I've ever made in creating is a 18 by 24 whiteboard that I put up on the wall, and I write things that I want to make. If I have an idea and I want to make it, I write it on the whiteboard. And if I haven't made it in 6 months, it comes off the whiteboard, because I'm not passionate enough about it.
Ooh, that's brilliant.
That's really good. I'm about to write that one down.
I know, that's good.
On a whiteboard.
I think-
Exactly.
Did we have one over there? No.
Oh, we have.
And-
There's also one way in the back.
Okay, so we're gonna
Don't forget
go
about
way in the
that.
back, and then we're gonna go over here to this nice gentleman on the end. No, you can
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Cream
yeah.
Abdul-Jabbar and that shit.
All right.
Oh,
You
did?
have it
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
so
All right,
use
excellent,
it.
thank
I
you.
think a sky hooked the shit out of that.
So we're talking mental health, and one of the things I just do in life in general is to say, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because I think that bit helps me. So I'm kind of curious,
That's a good one.
what's the worst thing that has happened?
In the context of what we create,
I guess more in the context of like when you've in perfectionism, when you've said, you know what, I'm just gonna like let my perfectionism go down and just let it fly. What's the worst thing that's happened when you've done that?
the worst thing. Oh, sorry. The worst thing that's happened when I've like put my perfection down and
Yeah.
let it fly. What's the worst thing that happened then? Okay.
I'm hoping you're gonna have stories about like not really anything. But anyway,
Well, I mean, my living is writing books, and I hate letting go of every single book every single time because I think it just sucks. It's like Steve knows the phrase "Who wrote this shit?" because it's in every podcast. Because I'm
But-
recording stuff, I'm reading it out loud. I'm like, "Fucking who wrote this shit?" And it's me. Yeah, but I have found the worst thing that can happen is you don't put something out into the marketplace. You don't put something out for people to consume. That's the worst thing that can possibly happen is you don't submit something to critical review, to public review for people to get views on it. So the worst thing happened when you put it out. The worst thing there is not the absolute worst thing that can happen, if that helps answer your question. Worst thing, you put something out and you get 1-star reviews on Amazon and people shit all over your work. That's the worst thing that can happen, but then you write another one and then you write another one. And I'm guess it's very similar. You just keep making product and keep getting better.
And the more you flex the muscle, the better it gets. But like part of what stopped me from video, I am scared of video. Hi camera, hi Twitch. But our track has a thing called open mic night, and it's every other Tuesday. And we let podcasters come on, streamers come on. If you want to come take over our channel, you're in this room. Oh, how I was awesome. So,
Can we sing Duran Duran songs at the top of our fucking lungs? Can we do
yes,
that?
yes, you may certainly do that, and I will sing with you because I was a Duran Duran when I was younger. But you can contact me, and I'll interview people. But we've had people take over our channel, and it's a great way to get your feet wet, and it was a great way for me to get on camera and stop being afraid because I am not a small girl. I don't know if you've noticed, and there's a lot of trolls. And so that's one of the reasons I've never gotten on camera is because I'm a big girl and I didn't want to hear it, and I've not heard it. So we've never had anybody really bad on our Twitch stream, thank heavens. We only have 11 viewers. So if you all could work on that for me, I would really appreciate it.
I tried, but apparently I'm banned from the Twitch stream, even though I've never been on it. I'm kidding.
Oh, don't do that to me. Yes, it's it. Oh, Lord.
No.
We're
All right,
sorry.
What's the worst thing that can happen is that pass right there. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Did we get it to who needed it?
It's not you, it's me. I'm monocular. So I can't catch anything.
Okay. Now I feel like an asshole. But
No,
go
no,
ahead,
no,
sir.
It's fine.
What's the worst thing that could happen to you?
But actually, that was kind of my question. You ever heard the old expression, they're all going to laugh at you?
I was going to mention that Adam Sandler stuff. You ever hear that Adam Sandler
Yes,
song? They're
that's
gonna laugh at
actually
you?
what I'm referencing.
That's what I was thinking. The worst thing that happened to you right there.
And-
So
and I'm like,
you're in my
let's-
kindred spirit, man.
Let's
All right.
say they're all laughing at me. My YouTube videos get no views. Do I press on and keep moving and
Yes.
go basically try to do quantity of stuff and my quality improves as I keep working? Or is
not
this
not knowing
where-
what you're putting out, that's the other shoe. Is content creation's part of it, marketing's the other part of it.
Yeah.
Going out and trying to find that audience that will think your stuff is awesome is part of the job.
So is
Yeah.
there ever any time that you can be bullied into quitting? Or is that just basically the only
Oh,
time
no.
you lose is if you quit?
I've seen content creators step away and quit because of bullying.
Yeah.
But they come back.
I
And-
get asked quite frequently, like, how do we keep a show going for 21 years?
Yeah.
And spite is incredibly motivating because there's been people out there on DDR Freak, you know who you are, that said, oh, this flop show's not going to last 10 episodes.
Screw
I
them.
have 126 rejection letters from editors and publishers who, when I was
Yeah.
submitting my work before I started podcasting it, they were like, okay, this is very nice, but this is not what we want. And it was absolutely nothing but spite. I had them all up over the wall. I wallpapered my room, and I'm like, I am going to bury all you motherfuckers. I didn't actually kill anybody, but in my head I did. And now I've had a wonderful flourishing career, but it was just hate. I was fueled by hate.
The
I
power of
love where
spite
your head's
compels
at.
you.
Especially in the online social media places, man, the TikToks, the YouTubes, anywhere you're going to put out stuff into the public where people can comment on it.
Mhm.
Remember that 99% of the time, anybody who's going to get in your comments and say you're doing something wrong or be nasty to you is somebody who doesn't have the balls to put it out themselves.
Or
Okay?
ovaries.
So remember the source of those things and don't let that get to you. Because there's always going to be somebody with something nasty to say. There's always also going to be somebody with something nice to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But go ahead.
yeah, I'll just chime in real quick. During my newspaper days, we learned something about the people who commented on our stories, which that was a hellscape. People are quicker to criticize than they are to praise you. Didn't matter what we did. I mean, we knew
Absolutely.
that there were people who liked our product because we had the analytics to back it up. But if you went and looked at our story comments, you would have sworn we were the worst newspaper, not just in Augusta, Georgia, but in the entire world. And yeah, that was kind of always the case. The people who liked us were like, hey, I like them. I'm just going to keep going and keep reading. And they vastly outnumbered the people who didn't, but the people who didn't were the loudest. So you got to kind of factor that in also.
So I want to go
That's
back.
great advice to live by, to be honest.
That too, yeah.
And there's also the reality. You may have made a show that people don't want to watch. So there is a life cycle to products. I mean, this 21 years of doing a related show, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But if you look at the entertainment industry, by and large, 21 years of a single show, that's incredibly rarefied air. So if you're making something you don't think is catching on, maybe you step back and think, okay, maybe I'll come up with something new. I've dropped 4 or 5 separate podcasts I've done over my 18-year career because they just weren't getting the numbers. And I'm like, I'm putting in all this time and it's not working out. I think I may have missed the mark on this. So that all of those things are possible.
And I just want to go back to what Scott said at the beginning. Marketing is important. If people aren't finding you, if you're just dropping it, that's never going to be enough. You have to go and seek them out and be where they are and do some social media. If you're on YouTube, you've got to do shorts because those will help drive people to your channel. So make sure that you understand your channel and what you have to do to market on it. SEO is so important in YouTube descriptions, beyond important. Titles are important. Your graphic is important. Understand all of that, and that will help people find you.
That's awesome.
The other quick thing I wanted to add with that, because I do have experience hosting live shows, because I also do cult cinema hosting back home, and so there's always hecklers. If you have the mental capacity for it, and I realize not everybody does, so this advice isn't for everyone, but really the best thing you can do if you find yourself in that position where like, oh my gosh, they're laughing at me and not in the good way, laugh with them, because it always throws them off their game. That's never the response that they're reacting.
Yeah.
That is never. Because anytime you let down your guard and you show that vulnerability, they're going to go deeper. But if you can laugh with them, and have a little bit of that self-deprecating humor, again, not for everyone, I understand, but if you can do that, that's the quickest way to disarm that.
Self-deprecation is a huge skill to learn in this business because you are going to do stuff that pisses people off and they don't like. And you're like, you know what? Hey, man, I get 1-star reviews and Reddit, I'll get trashed on Reddit a lot for my work. And I'll just go on and be like, hey, man, I'm sorry I didn't like it, but thank you so much for trying out my books. I appreciate that. And like overnight, it can change a lot of people overnight. So it's okay to suck, man.
Is this being streamed? Because I'm going to want to reference this.
Yes, it's on Twitch. It's going to be recorded and it'll be up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to basically put it on loop about 10 times. Till I get
That's okay. Who's next? And we can pass it back to them.
I read the story of Frank Herbert trying to get Dune published and getting 52 rejections. I'm going to guess 1,000 times. It's motherfucking Dune. It changed everything. Every sci-fi you've seen since then is influenced by that. Star Wars, all of them. He got rejected 52 times. And just, yeah. Why?
So, as being someone who's neurodivergent, I find myself really meticulously going over my work. And I do work with a team every so often to run my stream. And I feel that my level of perfection is not at the same as their level. And how do you manage working with others and being as meticulous as you are without pushing any buttons and scaring people away? Or do you not give in and try to do as much as you can? I never really was well at judging other people's tolerance compared to mine.
So I'm going to actually tell a story and then pass it down to Steve. So on the podcast that I do with the college, the young lady who runs our social, and she's wonderful. She's a photographer by trade, but she also has to do the social. It's not right all the time. And so I'll tag myself and I'll correct her just a little bit. And the next time I see her, I'll go, hi, next time you do that, tag me so I can do things with it. Okay. So I try to be very kind in how I do it, but I know there's a better way. And so over time, it's worked to make her be better. And now even the posts that she doesn't make about our podcast are better because she's learning from that. So I always say be kind. And then I just kind of work at it a little bit by little bit to get it to where I know it can be. But I think Steve has a comment.
Yeah. It's really important to remember when you're working with people in a collaborative space and you're not paying them, that the only person you can control is you. Okay. You can control your output. You can control your division of responsibility. And you can say, hey, I noticed this. I noticed this mistake. I noticed this error, or however you want to phrase it, because you know the people that you are working with and you know their temperaments better than I do. I don't know these people. Okay. And then the final thing is a really hard thing to say is, if these people that I'm collaborating with aren't working up to a standard that I'm satisfied with, maybe we're just not meant to work together. And that's okay. It's fine that some people just aren't compatible working together, and you can still be friends and you can still hang out. That's fine. It's not a big deal, you know?
Okay, next question. I think that
There was somebody else.
there was a gentleman here. Who else had a question? Y'all are being so gentle with that box. Y'all are scared now.
This is specific to podcasting, I think, particularly. So hopefully, one of the things that kept me from publishing earlier than I did, and this year I finally pulled the trigger and said, all right, let's do it.
Yay!
Thank you. Despite some things, and this specific instance with podcasts, I've gotten a number of people saying, like, yeah, you will get better, but people are still going to go back to that early stuff, those first episodes.
What's your podcast about?
So we are kind of a watch along and making fun of breakdown of Survivor, the TV show Survivor, and now having a spinoff.
I love Survivor
podcast where it's all the stuff we talk about that's totally unrelated, because that's more entertaining actually. So I might can that, but right now we kind of watch along with the Survivor stuff. So if they want to watch season 1 of Survivor, where we're like, you know, commiserating and also dissing them and also dissing ourselves, and like editing wise and just like quality wise, because we've gotten much better having watched several seasons at this point. We know what we're doing. We're hitting our beats. We've done a lot of improving over the course of just making the show. Like, and then going back, listening to those first episodes, we're like, man, we really sucked at this. Yeah. But the thing is, if people are going back to those first episodes, if they're not giving you time to realize you're doing better later, dude, don't worry about that.
Let it go. That makes them love you way more.
Yeah.
When they hear how much you suck at something and then you gradually get better, people absolutely fucking adore that shit. They are along with you for the ride all the way. Let it go and relax.
People love to grow along with their products or things they're following. That's why I always tell people when they start a podcast, don't go out and buy the most expensive stuff right away. You know, a couple episodes in, you say, hey guys, I was able to upgrade my mic, and it's as much of a win for them as it is for you.
You have the answer in your source material. You're doing a show about Survivor. That first season of Survivor was messy. It was new. It was, you know, they had reward challenges where they went to the production camp and made it over like a bar, right? So like it was messy, and it grew, and it took time to find its rhythm. Because if you ask somebody what's the best season of Survivor, they're going to say 16 or 20. They're not going to say the first, right? So it took time for it to find its rhythm. And that's okay for you to find your rhythm with that too, and just recognize that it takes time, and it's okay.
Yeah, it could be the meta joke. Like, we did it the whole time that way.
You could even make a few clips of season 1 and play those on the next current season and say, oh my God, look how terrible we were, dude. And people will eat it up. I guarantee.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
And by the way, is Suri gonna curb stomp this season of Big Brother? Yes or yes?
I have no idea.
So
I haven't seen any of it.
What's your show, and where can they find it?
It's The Tribe Has Broken, and we are on all podcasting.
+1 for the title alone, man.
Yeah, I know, that is awesome. Yeah. If you could do me a favor and pass this mic up to this person right here. I don't want to throw it because she has a laptop, and that could be dangerous given. And there's a camera. We try not to hit it too.
Yeah, right in the
You
top
just
there.
talk to the top. We promise.
Testing.
Yep.
Testing.
There
testing.
Yay!
First of all, I'm actually a he. It's fine. Two things. One, is there anything in particular that would make you quit? And two, to not end this on such a negative note, is there anything in particular, maybe the first thing or one of the first three things that'll keep you doing this for as long as you are able to?
I said, say, let's start at the end.
Yeah, what'll make you quit?
Buddy, there is nothing that is going to make me stop making art. Okay, because that's what it is. You know, the big phrase these days is content creation. We're making content. What we're doing, what all of us are doing, and what all y'all out there making are doing is making art, and it's the core of human expression. It's beautiful, and everybody should find some art to make, and not let anybody else tell them to stop ever.
I love this man. I'd say the only thing that's made me stop is two in the back of the head. Like this is, I was absolutely born to do this. I've been telling stories since I was in the 3rd grade. And no, nothing can make me stop after the shit I've been through after 18 years of doing this and the ups and the downs of it. And not just the content creation, but writing back, that's 30 years, right? I've been trying to do this. So if you really want to do it, you're going to do it and take the lumps. And what was the second part of your question? I forgot that.
What is one of the main things that may keep you doing this forever or
Audience
for as long
reaction.
as you can?
Audience reaction. Getting feedback from people who have consumed the art I put out in all its different formats. And some of this shit has gotten super special in my career. I've had fan events where I'm sitting with 20 fans, casual dinner, having a good time after a book reading. And somebody will come up and just stare and be like, I listened to your podcast while I was in the cancer ward, and I think you're the only reason I'm alive. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? But that's a huge example. But you will, no matter what you make, if you are consistent and passionate about it and you improve your quality, you are going to impact people's lives. If you're the first of the month you put out your content, there are going to be people out there that are just trying to make it to the first of the month so that they can hear you or see you do your thing. And that may sound ridiculous, but it's a guarantee. You are going to touch people somewhere in the world and you will improve their lives by what you are putting out.
Winning the Powerball would get me to stop because I would be doing a lot of traveling. And as far as what would keep me going, what would have to keep me going? Again, I go back to it. I've dealt with some mental health issues in the past. And when I've been able to do it, I did enjoy podcasting and talking to people. And I think that rush that I get from that is what makes me want to keep doing it.
I keep going for a variety of reasons. For one, it's that community thing. It's Sunday night. I don't want to sound sacrilegious or ruffle anyone's feathers or anything, but I really feel like the show that we're doing is kind of like church for some people. It's that sense of community. It's that getting together as a group, and that's getting together with my friends on a Sunday night, and then together with our listeners to do this little thing that we do. So that's been a lot of the motivation to keep going. The fun that is, and the impact that you have on people. I would be lying if I said after 21 years I haven't started to kind of that question's been weighing on my mind. When is the time to bow out gracefully and do that? But I'm not ready to really tackle that just yet. I think, like many others have been saying, the art form as a whole, I really don't see myself ever stopping the art form. But you're gonna have to. I think something else to carry with that is that the art has changed over the years. Remember, I was wielding words like shoutcast and Live 365. That's how we were doing shows back in the beginning. That's all changed now. So if you aren't going to evolve, the technology will tell you when it's time to quit. But if you're willing to evolve and roll along with that, I think, as long as it's fun for you, you've got the energy to keep going for a long, long, long time.
So I'm going to say the biggest thing that makes me stop is myself. Because of imposter syndrome. Hi, nice lady over there again. I get in my own way, and I've done it multiple times. But why do I keep doing it? Is because it's the same reason I keep getting in front of a classroom after 31 years. I impact people's lives. I know I've made a difference. And as long as I know that what I do touches somebody and helps them through something or helps them see a new side of themselves, I'm going to keep not getting in my way and keep doing it. So we've got 1 minute, and I'm going to let these lovely people We're going to start at that and come back to Rob. Tell everybody where they can find you, and if you are unlucky and have something on Monday.
All right. Nothing on Monday, but more on that in a second. You can find me at He Who Is Steve on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and every once in a while I'll have a bottle of wine and play a horror game on Twitch. You can also find me on Botch Podcast and Dragon Knight Adventure Friends, both of those on Spotify and iTunes. And most importantly for all of y'all, in 2 hours at the Crystal Ballroom, you can catch the season 8 premiere of Botch Podcast, where we are starting a new season in the online horror, science fiction, fantasy universe, the SCP universe. So if you're 21 or older, come on, we'll give you a beer and you can watch us be idiots for an hour.
That's awesome. I didn't know about the beer.
I am Scott Sigler. You can find me at scottsigler.com. If you listen to podcasts and you like horror or sci-fi, lighthearted stuff like that, also very gross stuff, you can just look for me on any podcatcher is that still a phrase, podcatcher? Am I old?
Probably not, but let's just go with it.
Whatever you use to listen to podcasts, Spotify,
Find your
Apple,
podcast
all that
app.
shit. And the last thing I'll go out on is I podcast the first version of this 16 years ago. And so now you might not be a novelist, but the stuff you're making can have a longer legacy for you. And now this book will be out October 3rd and from Athon Press, and I'm super proud of it. So the content that you are creating is stuff that might carry with you throughout, and then you get a big fun time when something comes out like that. So
it's true.
Okay, and now I got to follow that. I'm Channing Sherman on most of the major social platforms for CHANNING, like Channing Tatum, but without the money and the muscles. You can find my group. We are the Black Geeks of Dragoncon. And again, it's a party, not a protest. So if you want to join us and just be a good ally and see some great cosplay from people of color. And the podcast, which should be starting next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Yes, next Wednesday.
I'll be asking you on Thursday.
Yes. Well, if the editor gets it back to me in time.
Okay.
The podcast is called The Smarty Art Brother. It's been streaming everywhere, so you should be able to find it anywhere you find your podcast. It might even be on MySpace. Who knows? Is that still a thing?
Mr. Rob Roberts, Mr. Rob Roberts on most social media like Twitter, Instagram, Threads, places like that. But please don't be shy. Come up and take one of the cards. And I have a QR code as well if you want to connect. Because if you do want to connect, I really want to help empower people to create and put stuff out there. And that goes double if you're queer or some other type of underrepresented community. I really, really want your voices out there. So please, let's chat if there's anything I can do to help. So don't be shy.
And Rob did a great open mic night for us at the channel, and you can find it on YouTube, where you talk about digital media and gender diversity.
Yes, which Omar was on.
Oh, hi, Omar. Okay. I'm Tara Burton. You can find me at taraburton.com, and I will have my second social media book called Socially Engaged out this fall. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you, gentlemen.
Everybody put your hands up for a second.
Everybody wave.
Oh.